I was at a friend's house when his little sister ran in. She had just fallen off of a swing. So she plopped herself down in a chair, she got a Band-Aid, and she stuck it right on her little cut on her knee. After she had done that simple fix that she thought was all that she needed, she ran back out to play. But all of us were sitting there questioning her action. Because it wasn't just that one cut on her knee, but that was all she saw. When she fell off the swing, there were scrapes all over the shins of her legs, but she hadn't seen them, and she didn't focus on them. Even if she had, the one Band-Aid wouldn't have been able to solve that problem. It would have taken more action than a single one to fix it. The Federal Reserve has continued to take a single action approach to fixing the jobs market, but it's not even one action, but it's not even this one agency that is going to be able to heal the problems with America's jobs. The specific question I've been asked today is, has the Federal Reserve healed the job market since the 2008 recession? And although the Federal Reserve has done a great job of sticking a Band-Aid on their part of the problem, and has done great to increase job opportunities and job growth, that is not all we need to address before we're all set to play again. Now, in order to understand this question, we need to go into our first point, which is the crash. What is this crash of 2008? And the simple answer is that it was definitely bad. It was specifically focused on the housing market, specifically the idea that there were investments in mortgage-backed securities. Banks would compile mortgages from people's homes, and on the interest of those mortgages, the investments would increase. But the problem came when they started packing very risky mortgages inside of their investments. People who didn't even have an income, people who didn't have anything working for them to be expected to be able to pay their mortgage. It was called investing in a bubble. It was this illusion that everyone was going to pay their mortgages, so the investments backed by them should be fine, but they weren't. Over $14 trillion were invested in these mortgage-backed securities, and according to the Dallas Federal Reserve in 2008, all of that went missing in the rubble when the system collapsed. The investments in this bubble were attempted to be stopped with a 2010 litigation called the Dodd-Frank Act. It wanted to make sure that no investments were ever risky enough again to be backed on illiquid opportunities or an imaginary bubble of investment. So the Dodd-Frank litigation stepped in after the crash as a response. It wanted to be the first step to kind of plugging the drain in the bathtub before filling up the water again. And the water were jobs. And that's what we need to look at in our second point, is where are we at right now in the jobs market? And the Federal Reserve is doing quite well. I'm not negating the fact that the Federal Reserve is doing a great job of putting on that first Band-Aid. Let's look at 3 articles to see where we're at right now. The first is from the Guardian news agency on May 5th. They said there weren't only more jobs, but in fact 500,000 jobs have been added in the past 3 months. CNN on June 2nd clarified that the unemployment rate was down to 4.3%, down from 10% after the 2008 financial crisis. Now, not only is 4.3% a low number, but it's under and over the idea of full employment, 5% unemployment. At 4.3%, we're not only operating at full capacity, but we have an extension upon that and are able to produce more than was ever expected. The third article comes from Business Insider on June 6th, saying that not only are there record openings of jobs, but people are so confident with the openings of jobs that the rate of quitting has increased. Because people are willing to leave a job that they're not satisfied with because they think that there's going to be another one available. And the increase of 220,000 job openings just this past month means that they probably do have a good shot. But although these 3 things are present, Gerald O'Driscoll, writing for the Cato Institute on June 9th, points out why this is a fallacy. Although there's a low employment rate, although there are large amounts of opportunities, although people are confident that they might be able to quit their job and move to another one, there are 2 things that we're overlooking. The first is the discouraged workforce. It's not counted in the unemployment rate, people who aren't looking for work. In this study, that number has raised to 7 million individuals, not just those from 16 to 64, the working age. 7 million white males between 25 and 54 are not seeking employment. And the reason why was that second thing we need to understand. is that Social Security disability insurance has become a replacement for work for them. After they lost their jobs in 2008, they were satisfied with the benefits they received from their disability insurance and have been living off of it ever since. They don't need to look for another job because they don't think they need it. Instead, all of their income is coming from a government who also has to operate on its own. Although there is a fostering of jobs, there are lots of people that aren't looking and are instead satisfying themselves in other ways. Now the question is asking whether or not the Federal Reserve has healed the job market. They've done a good job. It's not 4.3% exactly, considering those two ideas, but it's definitely not at 10 anymore. More jobs have been added, more jobs are available, and more people are confident. But the understanding isn't that the water tap is coming slowly, it's that someone's about to unplug the drain. It won't be an understanding that the Federal Reserve is doing a bad job at increasing jobs, it's that the water will run out soon. In the same way that 2008 was filled and fueled by this understanding of bad investments, those bad investments might just be about to continue. The Washington Post 5 days ago pointed out that Congress just took the first step in repealing the Dodd-Frank litigation, and that Goldman Sachs would now be allowed to move $6 billion of their assets that would have been illegal before into these riskier investments. And that would only be one of hundreds of banks to move into these options. Another crisis would be imminent if the steps were taken. Keith Ellison, writing for The Guardian on another article on May 5th, pointed out that it wasn't only Goldman Sachs, and in fact, business lending in these risky markets were about to increase 75%. Although the job market might have been helped, it is by no means healed. And considering those two ideas and the drain about to be unplugged, we're not really even close. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for chatting.
7 minutes, 1 second.